Here's something I just don't understand. Maybe you can help me understand. How is it that with this conflict,
Mhm.
Israel-Palestine, you have, tell me if you'd agree with this, you have smart, educated, good faith people on both sides. Not that everyone is good faith on both sides, but you have smart, educated, good faith people on both sides. Let's call Alain Pape someone like that on the pro-Palestine side. And let's call yourself someone like that on the pro-Israel side. So how is it that people who are genuinely seeking truth have no consensus on on the reality? Like, how is it that these two narratives where we can't align on a single set of facts?
If if they're truly both good faith people,
There
there
should be.
should be almost total alignment on the facts, and where there should be divergence might be on some conclusions about those facts and interpretations of those facts. So, for instance, it is inarguable that Arafat walked away and never laid out a solid deal for Israel to accept up until his death. Arafat never did that. If you disagree with that, you're delusional. You're just wrong. But why he walked away, well, there technically you could have two people that are on very different sides that have a huge disagreement on that. You know, like was Camp David a real offer? Should he have even entertained it? Were there threats that he was facing at home? You know, I think it was Hafez or
But those are
which people
facts
have said,
too. But
yeah,
those are facts too,
well,
right?
they're facts, but like how you weight them is important, I think, because people really want to assign blame to one side or the other. You know,
So let's talk about the specific examples. You
sure.
said, you said Arafat, is that the name?
Sure, we can say like the Camp David to
So
the
you're
10
saying,
parameters to the top of Summit thing. Yeah.
you're saying it is indisputable that Arafat. Don't let me.
Mhm.
I know you said it 2 seconds ago, but I forget what you
Generally,
said. You said
Palestinians walked away without giving solid like deals, like we want this, and then we'll have peace.
in the Camp David, which happened in
2000.
2000. Okay, so your claim is in 2000 there
Mm-hmm.
was Camp David. The Palestinians unequivocally walked away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Indisputable. Alain
Yeah,
Pay would agree with that.
you
So on and
should.
so
Yeah,
forth.
I believe
And
so. Yeah.
and then where the disagreement is the nuance of, well, the Palestinians think it was never a good offer to begin with,
Yeah.
or this other pressures. And my point is that those details are also facts. So why can't we agree to those facts too?
Well, because the interpretations are, it's one step further. It's who's to blame, right? So let's say that let's say that they walk away from Camp David, right? Well, somebody might think like, well, they should have accepted Camp David, right? They why would they walk away from that? That's not good. And then so I might argue Arafat was greedy, the Palestinians were greedy. They should have accepted Camp David. It was stupid of them not to. And now look at where we're at. And Ilan Pape might go, okay, well, hold on. When Israel came into Camp David, they were offering what, 62% of the land or something? And by the end of that, they were past 90%. And at Taba Summit, they were going to offer even more. Who are you to say that Arafat should have accepted that deal when just months later they got such a better deal? Why would you say that they should have, right? So here's where we can argue back and forth. And it's like, well, I don't think it's worth the risk of not having peace. And look, they didn't even accept it at Taba Summit. It was offered later. And then he might say, well, who's to say that what was offered at Taba wouldn't have been offered later on an even better deal past that? You know, who knew that the second intifada was going to start, right? So this is where I think there's room for reasonable minds can disagree on what somebody should have done or where like the moral culpability is. But when you start with like Israel never was going to follow through on a deal, they would have just lied about everything. It's like, okay, well, what do you know?
I'm only interested in looking at views by good faith, smart, well-read people on this issue. Like, and you being one of them. I mean, because I part of the problem with the conflict is you have pro-Israel people who point to the most extreme of the pro-Palestine side, and they say, look, they all support Hamas, they want us to be killed. And you have pro-Palestine people who point to the most extreme on the Israel side, who say, hey, they just want to take over all of our land. And you have both extremes on both sides, and they're both wrong. And I think the only way to make sense of any of this is to look at people who, like my personal view is that, you know, you can be pro-Israel, be pro-Palestine. There's, like you said, there's arguments on both sides, but just be empathetic to civilians. Like, I think people should be able to condemn Hamas and be able to feel terrible for the civilians dying in Gaza. And if you're able to hold those two thoughts in your head at once, then be pro whatever you want. Is kind of how I feel. Do you agree with that?